Hello everybody, this is Gregory with 5-Minute Catholic Apologetics, where 5 minutes of your time may get you to the divine. Today we're going to talk about how we can get men back into the pews. Now before we begin, let's start with a prayer. Nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritui Sancti. Amen. Gloria et Patri et Filio et Spiritui Sancto, sicut era in principio et nunc et semper, et seculi seculorum. Amen. So if any of you go to the typical Our Lady of Suburbia parish, you'll notice that there's not a lot of men. Certainly if you go to Europe, what do you see over there? It's like old ladies and ladies. Pretty much it's just ladies in general. But not a lot of men. And you've seen this. I would not say this is a post-conciliar result, but I think you certainly see it more post-conciliar. And it's a problem. I've seen statistics that pre-COVID, only about 12% of identifying Catholics were going to church, and now it's even less in the typical suburban parish. Yes, I know a lot of traditional parishes are thriving and there's tons of men, but the typical parish, a lot of men are not going, and the men that are going are mostly either teenagers who are forced to go or older men. You don't see a lot of men in their 20s, 30s, and 40s. Of course, there's exceptions, right? There's always going to be exceptions. But nobody can deny that if you look at the demographic slice of the typical mass of Our Lady of Suburbia, it's going to be predominantly women. Why is this? And what can we do about it? I certainly don't know what we can do about it, but I can just give some suggestions as a man and knowing kind of how men think and how men respond, some tips. One is change the mass. I'm sorry. Look, we have this episode on part 3 of liturgical abuses that drive me crazy. And look, men don't respond to piano folk pop that's been pretty pervasive in most parishes for the last 60 years. We don't respond to that kind of music. We really don't. So change the music. Make the music more solemn. That doesn't mean men are going to sing more, but it helps if it's songs that are solemn, and also it helps if it's notes in a key that men can hit the notes. That helps as well. What else? The homilies. I mean, the homilies, for men to respond, it has to be homilies that are a challenge. And this is kind of a pervasive theme you're going to see in this episode here, is men like to be challenged. Men don't necessarily hear a homily. Well, first of all, there's the common complaints, right? I don't understand this priest. He's from the Philippines or Nigeria. My mom used to always complain about this. But aside from that, we've had this couple of generations of kind of just, Godspell Jesus, so to speak. And so a lot of the homilies are just uninspiring. And look, I get it. We're not Protestants where if somebody really has the gift of preaching, they'll start their own church. With the priest, of course, it's a vocation. And sometimes homiletics is not their strength. I get that. But men in general are not going to respond to kind of Jesus is love, peace, hippie kind of sermons. Men respond to challenge. Men respond to a little criticism. And I think if the sermons changed and the music changed, and in general the liturgy was just better, I think you would see more men respond. Absolutely. What else? I mean, have more men's groups in parishes. That's not to say men would come. There are some kind of Protestant-inspired men's groups like Alpha and That Man Is You and these ones, but most of them have Knights of Columbus and some other ones, and even some parishes have Bible male groups, Bible groups for men. As a whole, you don't see a lot of men going to them, and there's a variety of reasons, and most men will say that they're busy and so forth, but they're just lack of interest. It's really just lack of interest. And I think having, especially since men love politics as a whole, having a group where like-minded men can meet to talk about the condition of the church and what we can do about it would be great. Because men are solution-oriented. And women, wives know this. You come to your husband with a problem. Lots of times women just want a shoulder to cry on. I'm sorry you're going through this. And men are like, okay, this is what you do. Boom, boom, boom. Because that's how men are. And so look, the KOC is great. Knights of Columbus is great. But that's mostly focused towards service. So I think having men's groups where men can get together and talk about just what's going on in the church and have more of a Legion of Mary, like the old door-to-door apologetics group, or something where it's about going out, and we have this episode, 4 scriptural proofs that all of us must evangelize. I think if you had a group that was very specific toward these are the problems in the church, and nobody can deny we have problems, and the church has always had problems, but this is a pretty pressing time that we're in right now. These are the problems. Let's come up with things that we can do on the local level, because clearly we can't go to Baltimore, we can't go to Rome and affect change, but this is what we can do on the local level in terms of grassroots catechism, grassroots apologetics. Let's do it. Men like missions. The other thing I would hate to, and this is not to criticize any particular parish, but in general, I think we just have a lack of masculinity in our leadership. And I know this is going to rile some feathers, but look, I mean, nobody can deny that we had, and we're past this peak, but 30 years ago, we had a homosexuality problem in the priesthood. And we know this, how it was borne out in the sex abuse scandal, even though no one talks about this. But we had a generation of what we would call effeminate priests. And men don't respond to effeminate priests. I mean, clearly they don't. Men respond to masculine priests. Like the old priests we used to have, the Irish, somewhat drunken priests who'd come to the pulpit and just excoriate everybody. And everybody loved that because you were being challenged, and he was masculine and manly. Women are always bemoaning. We talk about this in the dating episodes. They're bemoaning how their men are not masculine. So women are attracted to masculine men, being strong, telling them what to do. Men too. Men don't respond to effeminate beta men. And so if our leadership, and I'm not talking just in Rome or anywhere, but in general, if our leadership was strong and we had sermons in leadership that was very masculine, men would respond to that. Men, you got to protect your daughters. Men, you got to stop doing porn. You got to stop, self-gratifying. You got to stop doing this. You have to go out and preach the word as your responsibility as the head of the domestic church. Challenges. Men respond to that. And if it's coming from a very kind of masculine, alpha, aggressive source, men are going to respond to it. Now, some more of the mangina types would be all offended snowflake types. We have so many of those types, men and women nowadays. But as a whole, men are going to be like, wow, this is refreshing, because we've had essentially 40 years of effeminate leadership. And so when a man hears this, and some of you go to a parish now where your priest or your hierarchy or whatever is very strong, men are like, wow. They're like, I want to join this men's group. I want to go out and evangelize. I want to do service, because it's a strong male leadership. And I think that's the crux. If you want to get men back in the church, yes, change the music for sure. Yes, do the things I mentioned, but really it's infuse the clergy with strong masculine men, and I think everything will fall from there. Guys, post in the comments, let me know if you agree or disagree. I'd love to hear from you. Please hit the notification, subscribe, and share button. Share with like-minded people. Until next time, take care, God bless, and pray.